So doing it this way is going to be a lot more trial and error, but it does give you the opportunity to get a double exposure in camera on Sony. Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you how I shot this photograph in one single exposure. So if you've been to my channel before, or even if you're new to my channel, you'll know that I love creating double exposures, which in a Canon camera is super easy, because we have the opportunity for the creative button with double exposures or multiple exposures. And here are some of my favorite multiple and double exposures. But one of the most common questions I get asked in the comments of those videos is, how can I shoot that on a Sony camera or a different type of camera? So I thought, do you know what, why not recreate one of my favorite double exposures and do that in one shot in camera. So I'm going to talk you through the process that I'm going to use to take this shot. So I'm here at Neil Ridley's studio on our YouTube day with the lovely Olga. We've had such a fun day so far. This is the last video of the day, but be sure to check out the other videos on my channel, which include how to create this epic portrait and how to create this photograph using Magmod gels. And I should also say, go and check out Neil's channel, because we've both, I think, made 3 videos each so far, so that is one hell of a YouTube day. So to create this particular image, I'm using one of my favourite Magmod products, which is the Magbox Pro 42 Octa. This just creates such a beautiful light, especially when you're doing close-up portraits, and in there I have an AD200. So I'm shooting today on my Sony A9 with my 35mm 1.8 and the X2T trigger. So to create the appearance of a double exposure, I'm actually going to have to leave the shutter open for longer. The first time I press the shutter, which will be my exposure, and then the second time I'm going to fire the flash manually, which means I'm going to have to leave the shutter open for longer. So I've chosen first of all to leave my shutter open for a full 2 seconds. And because I want the depth of field when I then move in for the second shot, I've got my aperture at 2, which means because the room has a little bit of ambient, even when we do turn the lights off, I've got my ISO at 50. The reason I'm going to be turning the lights off is because I don't want any external light to interfere with the portraits. We'll turn the lights off first and we'll just show you what we are getting with this exactly the same settings. Yep. Thanks, Neil. So this is what we're getting with the flash, with the Magbox at a 16th power. So this is still a little bit too bright, but as I said, the shutter is open for 2 seconds. So the reason that we can have this exposure for 2 seconds is because the flash is capturing Olga rather than the ambient light adding to the picture. Because the camera's shutter is open for 2 seconds, that's going to give me enough time to basically lunge in on Olga and manually press the flash a second time. So I'll just get Neil to turn the lights off for me again. Thanks, Neil. Can't find the flash button, okay. So then we get something like this. So that's this part here is my first exposure, and then I've lunged in for the second. But as you can see, when these flashes overlay each other, they're far too bright. So what I'm actually going to do is turn that flash power down quite a bit. So I've now turned that down from a 16th to a 64th, because then when I go in and fire a second time, it's not going to basically burn out the image. So we'll just have one more test picture. Sorry, Neil, I didn't get focus. Okay, so that's one, and then I move in for a second. Oh. So as you can see this time, because even though the light has basically been burnt onto the sensor twice, even though it has, we're not getting that overexposed image because I've turned that flash power right down. So now all I have to do is think about how I'm posing Olga and where I'm going to place that second exposure. So if this was me with a multiple exposure, I would actually have the tools to be able to place that second exposure exactly where I wanted them to be. So doing it this way is going to be a lot more trial and error, but it does give you the opportunity to get a double exposure in camera on Sony. So now what we're going to do is keep the lights off, keep shooting, and hopefully get the image in one exposure. Thanks. That's beautiful. Yeah. Sorry. I'm sacking my lighting assistant. Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Neil. So the first one, and then I move in for the second. Oh. That is a good one. That might be one of my favourite ones. So exposure 1 and 2. Just hand a little bit further away from your face, Olga. Yeah, beautiful. 1 and 2. To prove these were all taken in camera in one exposure, here we are, we're shooting on the Sony, and these are the images that we are getting. As I said, these are all in one exposure in camera. I have to reiterate that this is a trial and error process, and once you've worked out what your base image is going to look like and where you've left space where you would put a second exposure, it is, because you can't see it in camera, it is a lot more trial and error, but it is possible, and you do have to be a little bit patient, but it is possible. And do you know what? I didn't actually think it was possible, but I'm really glad it is, and that I've made this video so that everyone can have the experience of shooting something like a double exposure. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are interested in any other double exposures or any other videos that we've shot here today on our YouTube day at Neil Ridley Studio, then be sure to subscribe to my channel. So thank you so much to the lovely Olga. She's been absolutely amazing all day. And thank you to my good friend Neil Redfern for filming and for making this YouTube day so entertaining. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.